Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Sales Hunter podcast. Well, you see her right there. There she is. Colleen, how you doing?
I am great, Mark.
Hey,
Fantastic to be here. Thanks for having me.
well, it is. It is always great to have Colleen Francis in the house. We're going to be talking about her book. So, hey, why don't we just roll the video and then we'll get on with the show.
You're listening to the Sales Hunter podcast with Mark Hunter, where the focus is to help you as a sales leader sell with confidence and integrity. And now here's your host.
Hey, I am Mark Hunter. Well, of course, you know that already, but Colleen Francis is with me today. Colleen Francis, good friend. Let's see, are you hanging out in Florida or are you hanging out in Canada?
I am in Florida. That's not really a view, I suppose, but it's a picture of kind of where I am.
I see. So for the audio audience, what you're looking at is a picture of the beautiful beach, ocean,
It is.
shoreline, whatever you want to call it. But it's not real, okay? It's just a painting, okay? It's just a painting. So anyway. All right.
It's a photo. It's a photo.
Oh, it is a photo. See, well, that tells you how bad. Okay. Well, we'll be.
It's a long ways away, so we're okay.
We will be going to the eye doctor right after the show is over. So anyway, hey, you have a new book out.
I do.
Right? Yeah. Talk to us about your new book because I think it's kind of a cool title because you cut right to the chase.
I do. The book is called Right on the Money, New Principles for Bold Growth. It's been ready to go for a while, and I have to actually look down to remember what the title is sometimes.
Hey, thank you. People will call out my book to me and they'll call out the subtitle. And I go, I didn't know. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. Right on the money. I love the fact that you're direct, but then you've always been very direct.
That's me. Yes.
That's just you. Yeah. So, okay. So what's the new strategy? What's the new thing in the book?
Well, what I found over the last few years is that our clients and many companies fell into one of two camps. They were either really focused on customer centricity, and that was a big buzzword for a while. We got to do what the customer wants. We have to be 100%, customer focused. The customer is never wrong. And that was causing some problems for them. We saw companies in the retail sector go bankrupt because of those kinds of policies. We've seen companies like Airbnb have all sorts of compliance issues and regulations put on them for having those kinds of issues. And then I saw, on the other hand, companies that were too focused on the metrics. I mean, the classic one over the last couple of years was Wells Fargo, right? Like, we sell 8 products. Why? Because 8 is great, not because it had any relationship to the client. And what I noticed is that the clients who, if you think about it as a bell curve, who were really performing the best, balanced both a customer forward approach, but also a great detail to understanding the numbers and the metrics internally. And that's where you are right on the money.
Now, you bring up an interesting point because you talk about Wells Fargo. You're right. How many products can we put into a customer's hands? We'll put them in their hands whether or not we're even going to tell them or not. We're just going to put them in their hands.
Exactly.
That's a whole separate story. But
It
then
is.
the whole issue of really being too generous to the customer. Has the customer become more abusive?
I don't think the customer has become more abusive, but I think that the customer, when spoiled for choice, when they have too many options, can take advantage of that, which leads to profitability problems, customer service problems. I'll give you an example. I have a client who thought they were being customer centric, and they had, maybe 6 ways you could order from them. You could send a text, you could call, you could email, you could call your customer service agent, you could call your sales rep, or you could send a fax. I mean, short of having a telex in their office, And what would happen is customers would use whatever and they had online ordering. The customer would use whatever one was easiest, and they'd get texts like, I need to order again. And they'd be like, well, who is this? And then it would have to go back and forth. Well, just order what I did last time. Well, what did you order last time? We'll ship it to the next location. What location do you want it to? And it became this back and forth that actually created customer service problems because there was too much choice. And so that was kind of, being customer centric, to the overboard. We needed to actually narrow in the choices and force the customer through some kind of process in order to improve the customer experience.
I love the drop the mic moment that you said, the tweetable moment, spoiled by choice. I love that. I love that because here's what I think happens. If we give the customer too many options, then they start dreaming about even more options. It's the Starbucks problem. It's the Starbucks. I mean, how many ways can you have a grande coffee? Okay, excuse me. I mean,
Yeah.
they look at me weird when I order a grande coffee black. Like, wow, that's unusual. Yeah, because
Yes.
yeah, and I think it slows down the customer decision-making process.
Absolutely, it does. It slows down the customer decision-making process. And for those of you out there who have customers who do repeat orders, it actually slows down the repeat order process because we never know how or when or in what format that order is going to come in. It's just too much choice is confusing for people.
Yeah, I do have to call you out on something. You've been in Florida now for about 4 months, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the word process is coming out almost as process. So anyway,
Oh, there's
I had
some things I can't lose.
I had to give you a hard time on that. I've known you long enough that I can get away with that. Now
You
back
can.
to
Yes, you
back to
can.
this whole thing of customer choice. So when we talk about right on the money, are you saying we should take choices away from the customer?
Yeah, I do think we should limit choices to some degree. I mean, in everybody's business area, right? Now, I would probably argue that Amazon has gone too far, right, on the retail side, because they have one choice, say for ordering, one choice for customer service, and that irritates a lot of people too. But just creating a free for all, it reminds me of the Seinfeld. Why don't you just tell me the way you want to order, right? Like the movie phone. And maybe I'm dating myself now, but by creating too much choice, the customer is confused. So I'm a big advocate in the sales process, in the customer service process, of narrowing things down to no more than three, giving that customer three ways to work with you, or three ways they can engage with you, three ways to order, and keeping it consistent inside the organization so that you limit mistakes, you limit repetitive entries, you limit the number of people who are involved and engaged that could cause problems or mistakes.
But now I'm going to push back a little bit. I
Yeah,
agree with you, but to the salesperson who's desperate for the order, the salesperson who's like, I got to get this order, they wind up creating all kinds of options, all kinds of variations for the customer to be able to make it easy for them to buy from me, because that's what somebody said, make it easy, make
sure.
it easy. Uh, they get the sale, but they wind up creating a confused customer and
Yeah,
I mean, do you
absolutely.
do you buy into that?
Well, I believe that the salesperson who's doing that is trying to solve the wrong problem. The problem to getting the customer to buy is not to create more options. It's to stop putting pressure on the customer by having an overflowing filled pipeline at the top of the sales funnel. So, Mark, it's all about making sure that we're doing enough outbound selling so that we create a funnel that's overflowed so that you never have to get desperate for the piece of business. I mean, that's the bigger issue, right?
Oh, I think you're spot on with that. And I think what it comes down to is too many salespeople wind up prospecting people that they shouldn't even be prospecting to begin with. If they would stay in their lane,
Yeah.
they would, because I think customers want us to bring to them what is the preferred choice, what's the preferred method, what's the
Hmm.
preferred piece. And again, that's how we
Absolutely.
earn our money.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the balance in being right on the money is. The second half of the book is all focused on the data and sales velocity and the sales math, because not enough salespeople really understand the four key levers that will make them a success. And those levers are all focused on prospecting and pipeline management.
Right.
So when you
Yeah.
know that, you can really create your own success.
Yeah. Share with the audience what those four are.
So the four are the number of opportunities in your pipeline at any given time, the average value of those opportunities, either measured in dollars or margin or volume, however you do that, the closing percentage or your win rate. So, what is your win rate? 30%, 40%, 20%. And you multiply those numbers together and then divide it by the average number of days it takes you to close an opportunity. So from I've qualified them and we're engaged to close, I don't know, 90 days, 109 days. That's the formula.
Boom. Those 4 levers right there, because I buy into those. When I saw, yeah, that is what, this is the thing that I find so many sales people and sales organizations do. They measure the wrong metrics.
Oh, my
And
gosh,
what
yeah.
you just described are the right metrics, because just because you can measure it doesn't mean it's worth measuring. Just because you can
Absolutely.
measure it doesn't mean it has any value.
Yeah.
But I think those 4 that you just described, to me, if I can maximize those 4, then I'm
Yeah.
right. Then I'm right on the money. Yeah.
Exactly. Those are the only 4 that really matter from a sales performance standpoint. You'll love this. I had a client a lot of years ago who outperformed all of his other colleagues by almost 2x. And at the end of the year, he didn't get his full bonus because the company measured mileage on his truck and he didn't put as many miles on his truck as everybody else, or was expected of him, because he had figured out how to sell remotely.
Are you serious?
I am absolutely serious.
Wow.
Absolutely
'Cause he
serious.
didn't put enough. Well,
Metrics.
he lived in Canada. It was kilometers. I mean, excuse
No,
me. No, I'm
yeah, I
joking.
wish he lived in Colorado. But the company CEO said, "Well, you're not working hard enough, so you don't deserve a higher bonus." Like, so you're like probably 4 times as profitable as everybody else. You deserve more, but wrong metrics.
Wow.
Yeah,
Man, you stop and think about stuff like that. You stop but again, it is amazing how companies can screw up the sales process so well.
yeah,
I mean, man, that's mind blowing.
yes, absolutely.
Wow. So, what else in Right on the Money? What I mean, I mean, we could. I'd love to find out the name of that company. No, it's okay. It's okay. Uh, w- what are some other elements in the book? Because when you talk about Right on the Money, again, it's a great read. People have got to pick it up. You got to read it. You got to learn from it. The 4 levers, I think, are without a doubt gold.
Yeah.
But you've got some other gold in there too.
So, going on what we just talked about, how companies can mess things up. We do talk about having a sales prevention department, right? Because I honestly believe I recognize salespeople. We don't close all the business, right? We can't. You just can't close everything that comes to you. But not all customers are lost because of a sales mistake, an existing customer, right? So I think it's really critical that companies also, we talk about corporate velocity, that companies are engaged. I love to say that every single person in the company is a profit center, meaning they have the ability to either attract or repel customers based on what they do, whether they are online representing the company in a poor or a positive way, or whether they take vacation and don't have a replacement for, shipping and receiving and stuff sits on the dock. All of that stuff can dramatically affect the customer experience. And so the smartest companies, those who are right on the money, truly understand how every job function affects the customer experience and has a role there.
We'll say I'm a sales manager, or we'll say I'm a customer service manager. We'll say I'm an operations manager. How do I go about measuring what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing? How would I assess my entire process?
Yeah, it's a great question. We run companies through a couple of different exercises. I've called them in the book, we refer to it as a Black Ops review. A client refers to them as a war room, where they get all of those key stakeholders inside your company together: sales manager, marketing manager, customer service, operations, maybe even the executive team, and walk through key accounts and actually dissect them. Where are we strong? Where are we weak? Where does everybody in this company have a role to play in ensuring this customer remains loyal to us, that we capture our maximum share of wallet opportunities, that we convert them into evangelists and
Mhm.
case studies and referrals, and digging in and almost taking an approach of, if I was selling against us, what would I do? Where are the holes? Everybody around the table then has an opportunity to chime in and see what they should be doing, and then helping to create some activities and measurements for their teams to affect positively the customer experience.
That's cool. I want to run with that here, and I'm going to tie it into a question or a statement Greg asked. He says, so many organizations measure activity, which means nothing if it doesn't lead to deals closed. How do you get organizations to stop measuring the stupid stuff, i.e. this guy who measured mileage on the truck?
Okay, well, first of all, it does take someone brave enough to say, stop measuring the stupid stuff, right? I mean,
what if it's the stupid person who's in charge?
No, you're right, because the biggest stupid thing that that managers measure that can be very hard to break them of is an arbitrary number of calls that have to be made a day or a week, right? So I'm working through this challenge with a customer right now, and the poor inside sales manager who knows better, he says, my boss says these guys have to make 40 calls a day. I said, well, is 40 the right number? He's like, no, 40 isn't the right number. And in fact, our top performer makes, I don't know, 30 or 20. But the only way to fix people of this is to actually measure the results of top performers, of secondary performers, and show. So we went through this with a client who was measuring demo time, software solution. And the VP of sales finally came to me and said, look, we've noticed a trend. We've told everybody that they have to do 40-minute demos, and our average closing rate is 25%. Our top performer has a closing rate of 45%, and her demos are only 20 minutes. How can that be? Like, well, let's see what she's doing. And so we go to that success, look at what the success is, make it transparent and conscious for everybody, and then roll that out. And the results then speak for themselves, and people will move off of their stupidity once they see the true results.
It's funny, that brings to mind a company I was speaking to. This is 6 or 7 years ago, and they had a business process. I'll just use it Canadian style. That had a close ratio and meeting ratio, et cetera, that this is the way you make your number. This is the way you make, and it would be virtually impossible for anybody to do that and make their number. I mean, you would literally, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you physically could not do it because of the number of live calls, demos, on-site, And they were wondering, and the CEO, I'll never forget, the CEO says, why do we have so much turnover in sales? Hello? Because nobody can live up to expectations, period. And nobody was coming close to making quota. And guess what? People walking out the door. But it's still, this is 2022. We should have learned by now, but we're still seeing this stupid stuff. Why?
Well, I think it's because a lot of managers and executives grew up successfully selling not in 2022, right? In 2010 and 1990 and 1980, maybe even 1977. I don't know, but they.
How old are you? No.
But there is a mindset with sales managers, especially those who have come up through the sales channel, who say, this is the way it worked for me, and this is how I created success. Therefore, it's the only way it works. And they're not open necessarily to the change because it's fearful, right? They think, wow, like if I have to, my manager hired me because I was a good salesperson, and they said, just teach people to do what you did. And now, in order to be successful, I might have to say, I don't really know what I'm doing, but these other people are better, so I should learn from them, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit of ego and a bit of fear there that has to morph, because I fundamentally believe that a sales manager's job is not to be the best salesperson on the team. The sales manager's job is to make everybody on the team better than they ever were. And when they do that and they have that mindset, then they'll open up to new and different strategies, new and different tactics, and better data.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, stop the recording where you are right now. Back it up 1 minute, 57 seconds to be exact, and listen to what Colleen said. It is so spot on. I still see so many organizations where they take the top performer and they make them the sales manager. And, Michael Jordan, great basketball player, didn't work out as a coach. Larry Bird, great basketball player, did not work out as a coach. It is
You know,
amazing how it's the average becomes the great coach. And what you said is so spot on. Your job as a manager is to make your other people be better than you ever could possibly become.
yeah,
That's the mark of
absolutely.
success.
Yep.
So if I'm a salesperson and I've got a manager who's jamming down me numbers that just don't make sense, how do I push back? Or do I quit?
I would push. Yeah, well, no, I wouldn't quit right away. What I would
I
do
see.
is
So
go
you wait 2 days before you quit. Okay, got it. Yeah.
well, I would try something. I would go to the manager and first of all make sure that the quota, like so what the results you're supposed to achieve are attainable, right? So whether it's 1 million or 2 million, 500,000 or 100,000, whatever that number is. And then do the backwards math with the manager and say, okay, so for me to hit, $1 million, our average sale is, 100,000, that's 10 sales. I need to, at a 30% closing ratio, I need to have X in the pipeline, which means I need to, make this many calls a day or a week, and then agree that that is the right path forward. And if the numbers work out that they are unachievable, then even having an honest conversation about that. If the number comes out that you have to make 100 calls a day, or something unreasonable, you need to show that to them. And if they're unwilling to budge, and you're unwilling to or unable to hit your revenue target, then there might be a reason for you to leave. But I think at the end of the day, a manager is going to care less about whether you hit 100 calls a day if you show that you hit your revenue target, right? So work at being consistent at hitting the result, and then they might come around to realize the activity goals are wrong.
I love it. Hey, we're running out of time here. But hey, will you stick around for the after the show? Okay.
Yes, I love that idea.
But now we don't have an after the show. It's just one after the show. But anyway, hey,
Okay.
your book, Right on the Money, and where can they get it? How do they get in contact with you, et cetera, et cetera?
My book is available online at every major bookseller. So Amazon is generally the preferred choice for most people, but whether it's Apple Books or Indigo or wherever you happen to go there, you can also visit us at our website, engageselling.com, and see about the resources there.
engageselling.com. Great. Hey, we've been talking with Colleen Francis. She's got the new book out, Right on the Money. Do encourage you to pick it up. And hey, we may have to kind of exit here, but stick around for the after the show. And, we'll be back in just a few seconds. Okay. Hey, you've been listening to the Sales Hunter podcast, where each week we bring a new guest, bringing new insights and new ideas. We do hope that you subscribe and really rate the show, would you? Because it's how we create more listeners when you share it with others. Now, back to the show. Okay, so I just had to do the fake voiceover while we do the video. Okay, how you doing? Anyway.
I am good. Good to be back.
I normally get that done about 3 seconds faster, but oh well. Anyway, hey, you're going to be at Outbound this year, right?
I am.
Yeah, looking forward to it. You weren't able to make it last year due to that little thing called the border.
Yes,
but we've overcome that issue this year, so it's good.
It's very excited. Yeah,
good.
I just finalized everything with the team. Yesterday in terms of all my topics. So
good.
I'm excited.
Excellent. Great. Hey, so what else have you been up to? You just ran another marathon, didn't you?
I ran a half marathon. Yes.
Man, you're making me feel good that you only ran a half marathon. I had you up at this ultra marathoner. Wow.
No, just 13 miles, not 26. It was the first live one back since COVID, first one back since an injury. So it was a lot of fun.
Good. So first live one back. How do you do a virtual marathon? I don't know how that happens.
A lot of the races went virtual, so you would still sign up and you would still pay and you'd still get the t-shirt and the rankings and all that, but you just ran your own route on your own time and then logged in and said, here was my time.
Which is really
I did not like those.
Which is really stupid if you ask me, but that's beside the point. So anyway, So anyway.
It was the only time it was fun is if there was a group of people. I've got some online running communities, and we would all choose to run a virtual 10K or something together at the same time, and that created a little bit of online interaction, anyways.
But there's something about running a virtual marathon that just doesn't make sense to me. So anyway,
No,
but Outbound is in September of this year. And what have you got going on between now and then? We're recording this in April.
Oh, I've got lots of travel, for sure. We're going personally. I've got a great trip planned to Northern Europe for 3 weeks, so I'm excited about that. Being back on the road personally has been wonderful since things have opened up. And then really just a lot of business travel between now and September. It's going to be a big, busy season.
Good, because you are really out there. I mean, you are all over the place. And when you take on a client, you do a deep dive immersion with them. I mean,
I do, yes.
You aren't just in their shop for a day or so. No, you are in for a long time.
No, it can be months, but sometimes change takes time, right? And I like to roll up my sleeves and get dirty and really get to the deep issues that are driving sales, as opposed to the sort of surface issues on just training them, right?
That's good. Well, hey, we gotta end this right now. So you're in Florida. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. So the afternoon shower should be setting in here in about 45 minutes. And
it should be
right. Here you go. And but anyway, great to catch up with you. Looking forward to seeing you live in person in Atlanta for Outbound. I don't know, September 22nd or something like that. So anyway.
I think so. I think it's that third week in September.
Yeah, we'll be there. So anyway, thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, this has been Mark Hunter.
Pleasure.
This has been Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, with another podcast, the Sales Hunter Podcast. Colleen Francis, the guest. And hey, check out her book and do subscribe to the podcast. Great selling.